Cancer. Okay, so because of the vertical rays of the sun overhead the Tropic of Cancer, whether it is in the northern regions of our country or whether it is in the southern regions or the western part of the eastern part of the country, the land is very, very hot because of the vertical direct rays of the sun. Okay, so now having said that, now one thing that you have to remember is that the Himalayan areas, the northern part of our country, the Himalayan areas has to be excluded, okay, because the Himalayan areas, as you know, is already been affected by this factor called altitude. Higher you go, it's cooler, okay. According to the lab state, every 166 meters that you go higher up, the temperature falls down by 1 degree Celsius, which I have already explained it to you all. So this Himalayan area has been affected by this factor called altitude, so it's already cold, okay. But okay, now when the land gets heated up, okay, obviously the temperature is going to be high. Temperature on the land is going to be high. Whether it is in the north, whether it is in the south, the temperature is going to be high. Okay, now when you look at the northern regions of our country, because the vertical rays, land is already heated, temperature is high. Besides this, northern part of our country is far away from the distance of the sea. It is far away from the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean. Now since it is far away from the sea, okay, it is being surrounded by land from all the sides. So one land is heated up, the other land is also heated up. So since one land is heated and the other land is also heated, the temperature starts becoming higher and higher, okay, on the northern regions of our country. Okay, so the southern part of our country, temperature is high, the land heating is the same. But the southern regions of our country being closer to the sea, when the land temperature is high, water temperature is low. You should always remember this, water temperature is low. So land is heated up. Northern part of our country is surrounded by land from all the sides. One land is heated, the other land is also heated. The temperature is becoming higher and higher. Southern part of our country, the land heating is the same. But the southern regions of our country being closer to the water, the wind has been blowing from the water areas, so it is much more cooler. So in the north, the wind was being blowing from one hot land to another hot land, increasing the temperature and making it higher and higher. In the south, temperature is high. The wind which is being blowing is blowing from the water bodies, so it's slightly cooler wind. So when this cooler wind enters the land, it lowers the temperature. That is why when the northern plains of our country is being extremely hot during the summers, the southern regions of our country is not very, very hot. Okay, that is because of the distance from the sea. So what you have to remember is that during this hot dry summer season, there are 4 local winds which is being blowing in different parts of our country. The first one is called a Lu. Okay, Lu is a hot, dusty, dry wind which is being blowing in the plains of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, which is extremely blowing from extremely hot land to another hot land, increasing the temperature and making it very, very hot. There is another wind which is called Kal Baisakhi or Kali Baisakhi. Now this wind is being blowing especially in the state of West Bengal and Assam. Okay, and it's being blowing especially in the month of April. Okay, now Baisakh is the month of April. When this wind is being blowing, it's a very strong wind. Okay, and when the strong wind blows, it leads to so it's a very strong destructive wind which is being blowing in the month of April. It's called Kali Baisakhi. It's also known as the northwesters. But one thing that you have to remember is that although it's a strong, violent, destructive wind, this wind is being accompanied by thunder, lightning and slight showers of rain. And that slight showers of rain that has been given in the month of April by this Kal Baisakhi is good for the growing of crops like jute, rice and tea. Okay, so it's blowing in the west states of West Bengal and Assam. As I've told you, it's a very strong destructive wind. So since it is very strong and very destructive, it has been referred to as Kal Baisakhi, goddesses Kali, known for destruction, and it's being blowing in the month of Baisakh, so it is called Kal Baisakhi or the Kal Baisakhi. Okay, it's also known as the nor'westers. But the plus point of this wind is that although it's a very strong wind, this wind has been accompanied by thunder, lightning and slight showers of rain. And that slight showers of rain helps in the growth of 3 important crops, especially in the state of West Bengal and Assam. Okay, so as I told you, do. Okay, next is Kal Baisakhi. Number 3, another local wind that is known as mango showers. Now this mango shower is being blowing in South India, especially in states like Karnataka. Okay, and this slight showers of rain that has been given by this wind, mango showers, helps in the growth of mangoes. And the other one is called the cherry blossom. Okay, cherry blossom. Now this wind is also being blowing in South India, again especially in the state of Karnataka and Kerala. Okay, and this wind is also blowing, since it's blowing in the which is referred to as the coffee beans, which helps in the development of the coffee beans. Okay, so these are the 4 local winds which has been blowing during the hot, dry summer season. So now what happens is, now along with this, what we have to remember is that when this 4 local winds is being blowing and the temperature is becoming high on the land, okay, one thing that you have to remember is that the pressure starts becoming low. Pressure is low on the land. Water temperature is low, pressure is high. So what happens is, a time temperatures. So suddenly what happens is, you have the arrival of the second season that is taking place, that is called the season of the southwest monsoon. Now season of the southwest monsoon, which is also called the rainy season, begins in the month of June. July continues up to July, August and September. Okay. So now what leads to this beginning of the second season, or the season of the southwest monsoon, is the high pressure that has been created over the water and the low pressure that has been created over the land. Now remember, wind always blows from a high pressure area towards the low. High pressure is over the water, low pressure is over the land. So wind is being blowing from the water towards the land. Now when a wind is being blowing from the water, means the wind is always carrying moisture with it. So when this moisture carrying wind enters the land, this is how the second season begins. That is called the season of the southwest monsoon. The season is also called the rainy season. Okay. Now one thing that unreliable, uncertain and unevenly distributed. That's the characteristic feature of the monsoons. According to the meteorological department, that by the 1st of June, the first shower of the rain should be there in the state of Kerala. Kerala is the first state to receive the monsoon. So according to the meteorological department, 1st of June is the right time for the arrival of the monsoon in the state of Kerala. But, monsoons are uncertain. So sometimes exactly the 1st of June, the first shower of the rain is there in the state of Kerala. But sometimes the monsoons are early and sometimes the monsoons are late. Okay, so depending on the monsoons, arrival of the monsoons, the departure of the monsoons also takes place according to that. Like sometimes I told you, June, July, August and September is the right time for the monsoons. But the monsoons sometimes goes up to the first week of October also, depending on the arrival of the monsoons. Okay, so this is how the second season, which is called the season of the southwest monsoon, begins. And how it begins is because of the high pressure that has been created over the water. Why the high pressure is being created over the water? Because the water temperature is low, and low pressure is being created over the land because the temperature is high on the land. Wind always blows from a high pressure area towards the low pressure. So when a wind is being blowing from a high pressure, that is the water, wind is being blowing from the water, that wind is carrying moisture. So when this wind carrying moisture enters the land, this is how the second season begins, that is called the season of the southwest monsoons. Now remember, not to go into detail, you just know the full form of it. ITCZ is the intertropical conversion zone. This is the belt in the equator where the wind which is being blowing from the north and the south merges or meets. Okay, and this wind has been, which has been meeting over the waters of the Indian Ocean in the equatorial region, has been forced to rise up during the summers. Okay, and why it has been forced to rise up during the summers is because of the low pressure that has been created over the land in the northern hemisphere. Okay, so this ITCZ is also responsible for the monsoons in India. Okay, so you remember that. So this wind merging of this place, when this wind moved upward, Arabian Sea, and the other one goes towards the Bay of Bengal. Okay, the one which goes towards the Arabian Sea is called the southwest monsoon. Southwest monsoon of the Arabian Sea, and the one which goes towards the Bay of Bengal is known as the southwest monsoon of the Bay of Bengal branch. Okay, now both the wind, whether it's the Bay of Bengal branch or whether it's the southwest monsoon wind of the Arabian Sea, both the winds are very, very powerful, and both the winds are responsible for giving rainfall to different parts of our country during the month of June, July, August and September. Okay, but now let me first explain you all the wind which goes towards the Arabian Sea. Now the wind which has got deflected towards the Arabian Sea, as I've told you, the first shower of the rain has been given to Kerala. Heavy showers of rainfall has been there. Then some of the wind gets deflected and starts giving rainfall to the west coastal plains of our country. Heavy showers of rain to the coastal areas. Some gets deflected or enters the Gulf of Khambat and the Gulf of Kutch region. And the one which enters the Gulf of Khambat starts giving rainfall, heavy rainfall to Maharashtra and the areas of Gujarat. Okay, so remember, out here the wind gives heavy showers of rainfall to the coastal areas. Now, after giving heavy showers of rain to the coastal areas, now remember we have the Western Ghats, series of hills out here. So the coastal areas of the west lies in the windward side of the Western Ghats. So after giving heavy showers of rainfall to the windward side of the Western Ghats, the wind becomes much lighter and crosses the hills of the Western Ghats. Part of the peninsular region proceeds towards the east coastal plains of our country. Now remember, it is the southwest monsoon of the Arabian Sea branch only which is responsible for giving rainfall to the east coast. Okay, it is not the Bay of Bengal branch, it is the southwest monsoon of the Arabian Sea branch. That is rainfall. By the time the wind reaches the east coast, the rainfall may be around 250 centimeters. I'm just giving an example. Okay, the reason behind is because by the time it reaches the east coast, the wind which is carrying moisture becomes less. Okay, because of the distance from the sea. So this is how the southern regions of our country gets the rainfall. Now one which goes and enters the Gulf of Khambat, I told you Maharashtra, gets heavy showers of rainfall, especially places like Mumbai and all, where the rainfall is very, very high. And in Maharashtra lies in the leeward side of the Western Ghats, so rainfall is comparatively less. Okay, after giving rainfall here, the central peninsula India starts getting rainfall. Then this wind enters and starts giving rainfall to Madhya Pradesh and all. The wind which has entered the Gulf of Kutch, okay, starts giving rainfall. But one thing we have to remember is that you have the presence of the Aravalli Hills. So the presence of the Aravalli Hills and the wind which is carrying moisture which has entered the Gulf of Kutch runs parallel. Alignment is the same, it's running parallel. So this side of the Aravalli Hills gets heavy showers of rainfall, which becomes the windward side, and this side of the Aravalli Hills get less amount of rainfall. And the reason behind why most part of Rajasthan is an arid region or Thar is a desert, the reason behind is because it lies in the leeward side of the Aravalli Hills. So after giving rainfall to the windward side and the leeward side of the Aravalli Hills, the wind enters the Indo-Gangetic plains. Wind enters the Indo-Gangetic plains. Okay, so starts giving rainfall to Punjab and Haryana and all those places, and then goes to the foothills of the Himalayas. Now, presence of this huge mountain block acts as a barrier. Okay, so it cannot give rainfall to the higher altitude regions. So the foothills of the Himalayas or the low altitude of the Himachals starts getting the rainfall. By the 15th of June, the almost entire country receives the rainfall from the southwest monsoon of the Arabian Sea branch. Okay. At the same time, now remember, at the same time, I've told you Okay, at the same time, the wind, some of the wind carrying moisture also deflects towards the Bay of Bengal. The one which has deflected towards the Bay of Bengal, okay, it gives rainfall to Sri Lanka. Some gets deflected to Andaman and Nicobar Island here. But the larger amount of moisture which is carrying, the wind which is carrying moisture, is been attracted right up to the mouth of the Ganges, where you have, it enters the mouth of the Ganges and deflects towards Indo-Gangetic plain because of the depression that has been created, and funnel-shaped plateau of Meghalaya traps the rain. Okay, so larger amount of moisture which is carrying, wind which is carrying moisture, the Bay of Bengal branch has been attracted towards the funnel-shaped plateau of Meghalaya, and some gets deflected towards the mouth of the Ganges, okay, because of the depression that has been created over there, and starts giving rainfall to the windward side of the Garo Khasi hills. That is where you get where you have location of Cherrapunji and Mausiram, which gets the heaviest showers of the rain. And then towards the leeward side of the Garo Khasi hills, you have Shillong and all, and then this area starts this lies in the leeward side, and it gets comparatively less amount of rainfall when compared to that of Cherrapunji and Mausiram. And in that way, after giving rainfall, it goes towards Assam and other northeastern states of our country, giving rainfall to these areas. But one thing that you have to remember is that I told you some of the wind carrying moisture gets deflected towards the Indo-Gangetic plains. The one which gets deflected towards the Indo-Gangetic plains starts giving rainfall to Kolkata, okay, then rainfall to Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, and then it goes out to Punjab. But the amount of rainfall by the time it reaches Punjab is going to be less. Again, this is because of the distance from the sea. Remember, it is the Indo-Gangetic plain which is getting rainfall from the Arabian Sea branch as well as the Bay of Bengal branch. That is why the Indo-Gangetic area, the foothills of the Himalayas, is the second highest rainfall zone in the country. The highest rainfall area is the windward side of the Western Ghats and the northeastern states of our country. And the second highest rainfall area is the Indo-Gangetic plain, because this area is getting rainfall from the Arabian Sea branch as well as the Bay of Bengal. Okay, so this phenomena is taking place, or rainfall has been distributed in the month of June, July, August and September. Okay, but during this period of time, you have to remember another important thing. Okay, there's a term called monsoon gap, okay, or the break in the monsoon. So what do you mean by a monsoon gap or a break in the monsoon is very, very important. Monsoon gap or a break in the monsoon out here, okay, means that during the rainy season, okay, sometimes, rain stops for a period of 10-15 days, okay. So that gap, okay, where the rain stops for a period of 10 to 15 days, that gap is called a monsoon gap or a break in the monsoon. So that monsoon gap or a break in the monsoon is very dangerous, because this is the time where, important crops like rice and jute and all are being growing, okay, and these are the crops which require plenty of water, and when there is a break in the monsoon or the monsoon stops almost for about 10 to 15 days, that is going to destroy the crops. So break in the monsoon or the monsoon gap is very, very dangerous for agriculture, okay. That is called the monsoon break or the gap in the monsoon. There is another term associated with this season that is called the burst in the monsoon or the outbreak of the monsoon. The burst in the monsoon or the outbreak of the monsoon is the sudden arrival of the monsoon. Okay, sudden arrival of the rain that takes place before the real monsoon begins is called the burst in the monsoon. Okay, so these are the important things that we have to remember. So when the rainfall is continuously taking places, starting from the month of June, continuous July, August, September, suddenly, by the end of September or by the first week of October, depending on the arrival of the monsoons, the rain stops in the country. The sudden, especially in the month of October, when the rain stops, first week of October when the rain stops, okay, there's a sudden increase in the temperature. That sudden increase in the temperature in the month of October, okay, in the month of October when the rain stops, the sudden increase in the temperature is called the October heat. Okay, so this October heat is acting as a transactional period, okay, which is telling us Now the summer has ended in the country, the winter is setting in. So when the summer ends, winter begins, which has been indicated by this oppressive heat in the month of October, which is called the October heat, leads to the arrival of the third season, that is called the season of the retreating south-west monsoon. Now this takes place in the month of October and November. Now what happens in the month of October, November, why it's called the retreating southwest monsoon is that, now what happens is, I told you, by the end of September, when the rain stops, by the first week of October, when the rain stops, there's a sudden increase in the temperature. That sudden increase in the temperature is called the October heat. So for a few days in the month of October, there's a high temperature, but after that, the temperature starts falling. Okay? The reason behind why the temperature starts falling is that it is during the end of September, mid of September and end of September, the rays of the sun, which was vertically overhead the Tropic of Cancer, start migrating. It starts migrating towards the south, towards the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, so that means by the end of September, by the end of October, okay, or by the first week of, sorry, not end of October, but the first week of October, after the sudden increase in the temperature, I told you there is a slight fall in the temperature that takes place after oppressive heat. There is a slight fall in the temperature, and that is because of the southward migrating of the sun towards the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, when we were getting the vertical rays of the sun, it was direct, concentration of heat was more. But now when there is a southward migrating of the sun taking places, we are not getting direct rays of the sun or the vertical rays of the sun. So the intensity of the heat of the sun, the rays of the sun, the intensity starts becoming weak because we are getting slanting rays of the sun. So day by day, what happens is the heat, the intensity of the heat starts becoming less. So the land temperature starts becoming lesser. Temperature on the land starts becoming low. Okay, so water temperature starts becoming high. Now what makes the land temperature low is the southward migration of the sun towards the Tropic of Capricorn. So the temperature on the land starts becoming low, temperature over the water starts becoming high. When the temperature is low, pressure is high. When the temperature is high, pressure is low. As I've told you, it always goes from a high pressure area towards the low pressure. So it is during this time, high pressure is being created over the land. The low pressure is being created over the water. So the wind starts blowing from land towards the water. Okay, now which wind is it? It is the southwest monsoon wind. After giving the entire rainfall to the country, the wind totally becomes a dry wind. So it is that wind which is coming back, which is retreating. Okay, so it is called the retreating southwest. Now why the word monsoon? Now remember, the last place to receive the rainfall was the foothills of the Himalayas or the Indo-Gangetic areas. So the wind, which is being, after giving moisture to this area, totally becomes a dry wind. So it starts coming back, retreating. Punjab to Haryana, Haryana to Uttar Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh to Bihar, Bihar to Bengal. When it comes to Bengal, Bengal lies closer to the mouth. We have the coastal regions. Moment it comes to the coastal regions, now remember, so far it was being blowing from land. When a wind is being blowing from a land, means the wind is a dry wind. It's a thirsty wind. Moment it comes to the mouth, closer to the sea, it enters the water. Now since the wind is thirsty, as I told you, the dry winds are very thirsty, picks up the moisture. And that moisture that has been picked up is being giving a slight showers of rainfall to the east coastal plains in our country in the month of October, November, which is known as the retreating southwest monsoon. That is why the word monsoon has been added. That means the east coastal plains of our country has received rainfall in the month of June, July, August and September. It's receiving rainfall, slight showers of rainfall in the month of October and November also. And what leads to the rainfall in October, November is because of the wind which has been retreating. The southwest monsoon wind only, after moving from land towards the sea, picks up the moisture and gives slight showers of rain. But the type of rain that has been receiving during that time is not continuous like the monsoon season. It rains for a few days, stops, maybe a few hours it stops, okay. So that is called the retreating southwest monsoon. So when this retreating southwest monsoon is taking place, okay, in the month of October, November, you have the arrival of the last season, which is called the winter season, okay. You have the arrival of the last season, which is called the season of the northeast monsoon, or which is also called the winter season, which takes place in the month of December, January and Feb. So the retreating southwest monsoon and the northeast monsoon is taking place together. It's simultaneously. Now what makes this winter set in the country is, remember I told you, for the month of September, October only, you have the southward migration of the sun taking places towards the southern hemisphere. Plus, after crossing through equator, goes to the Tropic of Capricorn, where the southern hemisphere experiences summers at that time. So when the vertical rays of the sun is overhead the Tropic of Capricorn, the vertical slanting rays of the sun is overhead the tropical Cancer. So we are not getting direct rays, we are getting slanting rays. As I have told you, slanting rays of the sun has to spread over a larger area, so the intensity of the heat is less. So because of the less intensity of the heat, land is not heated up. Okay, so the temperature on the land starts becoming low. If you look at the northern regions of our country, one land, since it has been surrounded by land from all the sides, one land is cold, the other land is also cold. So wind is being going from one cold land to another cold land. You have the cold waves taking places. Cold waves outer means a wind which is being blowing from an area where the temperature has gone down below 5 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that is the reason behind why the northern plains of our country is extremely cold during the winters. Extremely hot during the summers, surrounded by land. Extremely cold during the winters, surrounded by land. Okay, whereas the southern regions of our country, land is cold. Because again, warmer vertical rays. We are not getting vertical rays of the sun. The land temperature is less. But southern regions of our country being closer to the water. Now do you remember, during that time the water temperature is high. So wind is being blowing from an area where the water temperature is slightly higher. So it's not the cold wind which is being blowing, it's the warmer wind which is being blowing. So when this warmer wind enters the land, slightly increases the temperature. That's the reason behind why peninsular India experiences a moderate or an average type of a climate. The summers are also not very hot, winters are also not very, very cold, because of the distance from the sea, as it has been surrounded by water from all the sides. Okay, so this is what is happening during the northeast monsoon. So now again the temperature is low, the phenomena is the same, pressure is high over the land. Temperature is low over the water, temperature is high over the water, pressure is low, wind is being blowing from a high pressure area towards a low pressure. High pressure is over the land, low pressure is over the water. So the wind which is being blowing from the water is attracting the wind blowing from the land. So when a wind is being blowing from the land, means the wind is a dry wind. So the wind starts blowing from the northern part of our country as well as the eastern part of our country, and then gets attracted towards the coastal areas of Bengal. Okay, so moment it enters there, again it picks up the moisture like the retreating southwest monsoon, and that moisture that has been picked up again starts giving rainfall to the east coastal plains of our country as winter rain. Okay, as winter rain, that is in December, January and February. That is why it is called the northeast monsoon. Okay, so the east coastal, in other words, the east coastal plains of our country is almost getting rainfall for a period of 8 to 9 months in a year. June, July, August and September, 4 months, continuous heavy showers of rainfall like the other parts of the country. October, November, December, January, slight showers of rainfall here and there. So this is the 4 seasons that we have in the country. Okay, you have to remember what happens during this 4 season. Okay, and characteristic features are very important, which is there in the textbook. Please go through this. But one thing that you have to remember is that when a low pressure has been created over the water, means there is a cyclonic depression. So cyclonic depression over the Bay of Bengal, because of this low pressure that has been created, is also responsible for giving cyclonic wind to the east coastal plains of our country. And it is during that period, during the winters only, remember there is a temperate cyclone that is taking place, which I had explained you all in the previous class. There is a temperate cyclonic wind that takes place, or cyclonic depression that is taking place in the Mediterranean Sea, which is responsible for bringing wind which is called the western disturbances. Okay, and this western disturbances is responsible for giving rainfall to states like Punjab and Haryana. And this light showers of rainfall that has been given by this western disturbances helps in the growth of wheat during the winter season, especially in the month of January and February to Punjab and Haryana, which helps in the growth of wheat plant. So this is the 4 seasons that you have to remember. Okay, so in my offline classes, I'm going to explain, I'm going to send you all, the videos on audio lessons on reasoning and how to solve the climatic data. Thank you.